the sewer line. Nobody was plugged but her. I do feel sorry for her, but somebody else would have been plugged other than her, looking at the diameter of this pipe. Now Clyde went ahead and he popped the manhole that is downstream from her. We did not video that, but he is here tonight to say that that line was clear as well. The lines were jetted in June, but like I said, if upstream is cleared, if downstream is cleared, we felt there was no need for a jet truck to come in. We had a clear flow. There is a possibility after looking, and by the way, we all reviewed the tapes, and so does Jesse. It shows no blockage at all. It shows a clean line. So I don't know what they videotaped, but they didn't videotape any blockage because it shows a very clean line up to our main.
Because he was out there and cleaned that.
But he didn't video that. He
videoed, his CD shows it after he cleaned it. Is that correct?
The only other thing we can think of, since visiting with Jesse and visiting with looking at old records, that she's possibly attached to the house to the north. We do not have a sewer line on that 5th Avenue. That's the corner of her house going north. She probably could be attached to the lateral or service line of the house next door behind her. We're not in charge of laterals. The city only cleans the main. If she's attached to the lateral and there's a blockage and she's getting a sewage from the house to the north, that's not the city's problem. Nor is it the problem of that person living north of her. I had a similar...
Well, it's certainly not my problem.
Excuse me,
Either, because I have
Pam.
lived there 25
Pam.
Pam,
Pam,
Well,
please,
that's
let me
fine.
finish.
we need to let her speak, please.
Yeah, that's fine.
I did call the city of Sioux Falls. They do have a number of properties that are still connected to laterals. The laterals are connected to each other. In fact, my husband and I owned one for a number of years. Same thing. The city of Sioux Falls is very clear. That is not a city problem when there's a backup. And it's not the neighbors next door to you that's connected to you. What they suggested we do at the time is put in our own clean out in the boulevard where you see the white caps. So it happens again, you clean it out. But again, I've got Clyde here from Hydro Clean. He was out there that morning. He popped the lid on the downstream now, and he said the flow was very good. I don't see this as a city issue. I think it's unfortunate, but we had decided not to call in the back truck because we looked at the flow. We have a video camera of the flow. We showed it to Ms. Jansen, the flow. We had a clear flow. It has nothing to do with the apartment buildings across the street. They attached to the manhole. In that one video, you can see the apartments across the street. There's nothing coming out of the lateral. Nobody was backed up but her. There'd be a problem with the main. This is the diameter of the main. All those properties would have been backed up as well. We would have been besieged by phone calls. Nobody was. And I do feel unfortunate for her, but, like Jesse said, perhaps the blockage they might show might be something from that lateral, from the house to the north, that's pushed toward the main. But I'm sorry, I feel sorry for her, but the city's not responsible for this. We really aren't. Like I said, we decided at the last one not to call the back truck because the flow is so good. What's the point of calling a jetting truck if the flow is good? Based on the video from Roto-Rooter and what mapping we found in the office from the old cemetery district, because this was not in the city. The city of Crooks did not take over the Crooks Cemetery District in 1999. These houses were built in 1992 and 1993. So this is way before the city of Crooks took over.
My house was not built in 1992. It was not. I bought the property in 1993. I didn't take possession of the house because of the schoolhouse sitting on there for over 2 years.
Okay, but the
until
city,
1996.
excuse me, but please, the city did not take over the cemetery district in 1999. So it could very well be that back then, her service line or lateral is connected to the neighbor to the north. It's not the neighbor to the north's problem. We don't know people's lifestyles. We all, one time or another, could get, we lived here 37 years and never had a backup. That's not saying tomorrow, but it's truly not the city's fault. It's unfortunate, but it's truly not the city's fault that this happened. And Jesse was going to be here this evening. He basically said the same thing. There's no conclusive evidence that blockage was in the city main. On evidence he saw from looking at that video. So unfortunate, but that's why we have the streets gathered every year, that's this section of town is due. We didn't do the far east one, so that's under gravel, but Third Street, Fourth Street, we still have left lane. And when Roto-Rooter called me at 12:30 at night, my first, they would ask him where your man was. I said, well, have you snaked her line? Well, no.
He wouldn't have been able to, the way
I
they were
said-
shooting out, I asked you guys to come down, the way it was
I
shooting
won't go
out,
in
a
somebody's
snake
basement.
would not have gone through there. I
I'm
saw
not
it.
gonna go in somebody's basement, I'm sorry.
Well, that's
And
fine,
look at
then you
sewage
don't
flow.
know what was going on in my
No, I'm not
basement.
gonna go in someone's basement and have a look at sewage. I'm
Because it was
sorry.
shooting out.
I'm sorry.
Okay, Clyde, can you enlighten us a little bit?
Yeah. You guys know me, I'm Clyde Lanzer. My day job is with Tiger Clean. We do cleaning of sanitary mains, moving trucks. And the line that runs down 4th Street, it runs right down the middle of the street. It's 8-inch pipe. And if there was a blockage, so the manhole downstream from her, that one, if there's nothing running there,
How far? How far down is the manhole from?
hers,
Yes,
Three
please.
doors down.
I'd have to just guesstimate at this point because I didn't measure it, but I suppose about halfway is about 150, 175 feet.
Are there any other,
There's a manhole upstream. I'd guesstimate that to be about the same, so hers is about halfway in between. And I could be off by 50 feet or 75. Generally what happens excuse me, if a sanitary main is plugged, you're gonna get the manhole upstream is gonna surcharge. In other words, it's gonna start building up. You're gonna have a pool of water, sewage in that manhole. Okay, when you unplug it, it'll all run away. The upstream manhole was not plugged, was not surcharged, okay? So there was nothing in there, there was nothing in the downstream one. That line was run clean. What I'm guessing, and listening to the records Jenny has, if her line comes out and joins up with another lateral, and then two of them come to the city main, if that got plugged, and the other facility is higher, upstream, it could push sewage into her house.
Well, I did-
But that's the lateral, not the city main. Okay. Any questions on what I tried to explain?
Question?
do we have any guidance from DGR or Butch or anybody?
DGR just said the CD showed no blockage, so I don't think that was unexpected because I don't think the video was taken until after the blockage was cleared.
Was this before, is this the movie video or is this?
This is the Roto-Rooter video.
Hey, can I have one more thing? I apologize. Your first name?
Pamela.
Pamela. Well, Pamela said, I don't think I can ever do anything in my basement for fear of this happening.
Oh, no, I'm not
Okay.
going to.
So
Well, that increases
what I
our
have to say
property
about
value.
that is, if she wants to be assured that the other people don't plug up the lateral, she would have to dig her lateral to the city main.
Yeah,
It would only be hers.
that'll cost me like $10,000.
But that's, Pamela,
I
I
get it.
think that's the point, though. The point is, cities, I mean, by common standards, are not responsible for lateral line backups. The city's responsible for main, damage to a main that would cause a backup to every home along that main. But when it's a lateral line, the city would never take responsibility for that. And unfortunately, based on the research that Jenny's done, there's a highly likely chance that you are connected two laterals into one, which is probably causing your issue. But again, that's a lateral line. and not the main line. It was proven without a doubt that the main line was not plugged. If the main line was plugged, that would be the city's responsibility. If the main line was damaged, that would be the city's responsibility. But any lines that come off that, unfortunately, are the homeowner's responsibility. Now, I don't know, Jenny mentioned something about a clean out. I don't know if that's an option versus digging a hole your own lateral. If that's a cheaper option.
We had a similar situation with one of our rental properties in Sioux Falls. And the city made it very clear, did you know you were joined to your neighbors? Well, we didn't. But they have.
Most people wouldn't.
If that
wouldn't know
happened,
that.
I would not know.
And
Right.
what they suggested, again, it's costly to dig in a whole separate line. They suggested at the time to put a clean out. You see those white caps?
Yes.
We paid for that, my husband and I did, to dig down near the right of way, near where that other line is, so if it happened again, you can quickly get to it, or a road removal, one similar kind of outfit to clean it. But it, you know, when we had it, the city said, mind you, this is not your neighbor's fault, and it's not the city's fault. That's just what happens. It may never happen again. It's what happens when more than one lateral are connected. And in the 90s, these things were allowed, you know.
I'm assuming we don't do that now.
Yeah, no, not now. And speaking with First Rate Excavated, he said usually the second line that is attached to the lateral, like it's the one on 140 Fifth Street, and theirs is first, they have the correct angle into the main. Usually the second guy that connects would be the guy that's going to back up, because they finagled somehow with the correct elevation and so forth. They will be the guy that will back up and get their neighbor's sewage. Again, like you said, what it is, there's still plenty of them in Sioux Falls. According to Trent Wilbers from the city of Sioux Falls and Kent with First Rate, it's not a good practice only because what she's talking about happens. You feel sorry for the homeowner, but it's not the city's responsibility, I'm sorry. But, like I said, that's a cheaper way of getting around it by putting in your own clean out than spending the money and digging down and shooting out your own sewer line or lateral. It's the same verbiage to the main. That might be an option for you to do in the future. But unfortunately, it's an unfortunate thing, but the city's not responsible.
Any other comments, questions from council? No?
Nope.
Okay. So unfortunately, Pam, I think that's the answer.
Well, if it keeps happening, though, something's got to be done with somebody else. I mean, I do not need to take everybody's waste if that happens again.
You're not, I believe the only waste you'd be taking is one house. I think it's
Well,
confirmed that you're not taking waste from
Then
the
it's way
apartment
too
building.
much to be taken because I did not flush a toilet, run any water. I had a pail of water and I threw it outside and drew some more water. Nothing for over 24 hours and it still won't stop running in.
I guess I can't
Yeah.
answer that.
It's something very serious that I'm worried about. Either something isn't being cleaned out properly, whether they said it was or not, or something's got to be happening, or to the north of me, they're throwing stuff down the sewer that they should not be doing and utilizing, anything like that. I mean, it's got to be something. After 25, 26 years and then that happening, it's got to be an answer to something. And I was not using a drop of water when this all happened. So something's got to be coming from somewhere, and it's not from me.
And I don't disagree with that, but unfortunately that's not on the city to solve that.
Well, I believe what she said. But
Yeah, I'm not
it's the
disagreeing.
city's responsibility.
Right.
If she's getting her neighbor's sewage, and it's not her neighbor's fault either if the neighbor doesn't know, you know? It's just one of those things. She's probably connected to the neighbor's line. And like I said, the solution is either trench in your own line, which is going to be costly, or put your own, spend the money and put a clean out somewhere that if it does happen again, you can get to it quickly and get it cleaned out. Based on the footage we got from Roto-Rooter and based on the mappage I found that was years old when they put in 104 North 5th, it's very likely, and looking at the footage, that her sewer line or lateral is attaching to a neighbor's. Is it the neighbor's fault she backed up? No. It's just one of those things that happen. But that's one way out, is to put in your own clean outdoor suspension in your line, like I said. But unfortunately, for her, it's not a city issue.
Okay, anything else? Okay,
We have any more phone comments?
is there any other open comments?
I have one, maybe it's not, there's been vandalism.
Oh, yes, I was gonna
Do
mention
you
that
want
as
to
well.
bring that up? or you
Yeah,
want
there was vandalism along Andrew Drive, of some signage in the yards, both being destroyed and or removed. So obviously, as a city, we highly discourage vandalism of any type, especially to people's personal property. So if you see anything like that, please